Hi. In 1900, American psychologist John B. Watson performed an experiment on a kid. It was a 6-year-old kid, and he performed an experiment of phobias. So, what did he do? He exposed the kid to a white rat, a cute little white rat. And along with the view of the white rat, what he did, he played a loud and scary noise in the background. He did it for a few days, and after a few days, what happened? Whenever the kid was put in front of the white rat, the kid started crying. He was scared as hell. Psychologist John Watson was the one who was a pioneer of behaviorism in psychology, and he studied about conditioning of phobias. In my introductory video of the True Parenting series, I talked about few things that the parents should be careful while raising their child, and this thing is very much important while raising your kid. Today we are going to talk about the phenomena of frightening your kid of the dark. Yes, it's sounds very much innocuous. It sounds very much harmless, but it plays an important part in the upcoming life of a child. So, what happens when, as a parent, when we raise our kids, we are primarily focused about the physical well-being of our child, because as I discussed in my video of episode 1, I talked about the vulnerability of the child, how much delicate a child, a newborn is. So, the first and foremost importance for the parents is to make the child survive the initial hiccups. So, it's a huge challenge. And all in all, uh, there are so much stress on the parents, there are so much responsibilities, there are so much burden, and it's not a lot to say that both the parents are exhausted at this phase, the initial phase. So what the parents do is, when they're so much exhausted both physically and mentally, they try to find out shortcuts to keep their child calm and sit at a one place. So what they do is that they sometimes scare the child of their own from the dark, from the dark inside their house, from the dark outside. And in doing so, what they end up doing is that they condition the child to fearing the darkness. Sometimes they do to shrug off responsibility. Sometimes they do genuinely because they think something will happen in the dark. Sometimes it's not the parents. Sometimes there is a naughty kid inside your house, and what he does is that he plays prank on your child, He takes your child to the dark and scares him of the monsters or the ghosts or the supernaturals or the beasts, and this thing continues in the early phase of the child's life. And sometimes it's your relatives, sometimes it's the relatives of the parents, they contribute to this. One thing we have to remember is that during the times of the cavemen, there were many dangers. There were physical dangers. There were beasts, predators, weather, diseases. There were intruders. So there is to be genuine dangers, and humans that time had to teach their offspring of the all possible dangers in their surroundings, and it's pretty much necessary in today's scenario too. In these days, what are the things that you should warn your child about? It's the water, it's the edge of the building, the roads, the vehicles, dangerous animals like snakes. You have to warn your child about them. It's true. But there's a difference between letting your child know of the probable danger and traumatizing them of a, a certain thing that might not be so harmful, because the child has to grow up, and someday that child is going to have a child of their own, and in between that journey there are so much difficulties, there are so much struggles, obstacles in life, that a conditioned phobia of something is going to certainly affect that child in that journey. So, frightening your child of the darkness might not be a good idea, because it can very well turn into a trauma which can last the whole life. And as I told you, a journey of a human is filled with obstacles, so much obstacles that they have to have the courage inside them to deal with the phobias, deal with the things, deal with the harmless things, and move on. So, as I mentioned in the story of the experiment, that a very harmless thing can be treated as a source of fear, can be introduced as a source of fear inside a child's mind with a learned conditioning. So, when you frighten your child of the darkness, you are doing that conditioning and making him crippled in the way of life. Okay, so another thing is that fear of darkness is not necessarily going to stay a fear of darkness. See, darkness is something which we cannot see. It's the lack of light. It's the lack of knowledge. It's a lack of knowledge of what's in there. So basically, what it does eventually is that, so it's still under research, but what I feel it does is that there are many things in our life which are not known to us. For example, you don't know what you will feel if you are asked to stand on a stage in front of 1,000 people and asked to say something, will you feel fear? You, there is a chance that you will. So, fear of the unknown, fear of darkness can be transpired, can be spread into other domains. It can create other phobias which are related to the fact that you don't know certain thing. You don't know what certain thing will do to you, and you end up having a phobia about that. So, a fear of darkness might not be only a fear of darkness, it can convert into many other things. This thing is applicable to all the children, but especially the child is a boy who is going to be a man someday, who is going to be like an exposed nerve someday, who has to take in all the evil in the world someday. So, frightening a boy of the darkness is certainly not the best idea you might have. So, you have to look into it that you do not do this to your own child, certainly, and you have to make sure that it's not done to your child by someone else too. You have to make your child mentally strong for the bad days to come. It sounds like too much because when your kid is very young, you might not think about these things. You might think about only keeping him physically healthy. That might be your only objective, to keep him from the diseases, to keep him all the dangers of the world. But the harsh truth is that you are not going to be there for that child when he or she grows up. So yes, you have to make him prepared from the for the coming days. So this might sound like a very small and petty thing, but it certainly is not, and I very well know that. In my coming videos, I'm going to talk about phobias in details. I might even start a different separate series about phobias in my coming videos. So in them, I'm probably going to discuss more about the psychological aspects of phobias. So you might want to check the videos when they are out. I hope you found some value from this video, and I'm going to come back with more videos. Watch out for them. Goodbye.